Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to episode number 10 of the Polarizer podcast. That's a little milestone there. 10 episodes. Sweet! Today I'm talking to Roderik Faasen, and to say that he's an interesting guy is an understatement. He's a painter and a poet, but mostly a painter. And the guy has traveled around the world and has been living an insane adventure for years. He easily has the craziest life of any person I've ever walked into, and I've walked into some crazy people during the last couple of years. When he's not hanging out with Victoria's Secret models, he's wandering through the Bronx in New York by himself in the middle of the night, or he's making paintings live at some huge techno festival, or he's hanging out at the MTV Awards. He's basically everywhere, all over the place, and people want to... Everyone knows him in the city he lives in Rotterdam, including the rich and famous. And he's been arrested for his wild antics a couple of times, and he literally lives the rock star lifestyle. He's the guy is nuts, and I love him for it. Everyone does. And he has a lot of love for his home city, just like yours truly, the beautiful city of Rotterdam. And his work is on display in a big art gallery in the north side of town permanently. At this time, you can find his work also in London, and in a couple of years, his work will be hanging in New York. So keep an eye on his website. I'm sure the news section will update by the time his work is hanging in New York. So the word is slowly spreading. If you're an art collector, now's the time to get in. And this is one of my favorite recordings so far because it's just a crazy conversation, and it's just, it was a real treat to talk to this guy. And if you like the show, you can follow us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at @the_polarizer. You can find me on Instagram at DutchDiederik. So you can follow the show there. People have been very receptive to the show, getting a lot of good feedback. So I'm very happy to hear that you guys are enjoying it. So keep spreading the word. Keep telling your friends about it if you like it, and I'll keep making more of them. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Episode number 10, guys.
Recorded someplace random on this interesting planet we live on, with your host, Dick Hubey. You're listening to the Polarizer Podcast.
Ready, man.
All right. Well, I'm sitting here in the living room with my cousin Roderik Faasen, and in a house that kind of reminds me of Tyler Durden's house from Fight Club. He's a painter and a poet, and he's the most rock and roll guy I've ever walked into. And I've been hanging out in a lot of wild places, met a lot of pretty wild people, but yeah, you take the cake, man.
It started up with our grandfathers being nephews, just like we are cousins.
Yeah.
They were sitting on a boat together for quite some time, so yeah, man.
Yeah, blood related, man. And I remember, I think it was like 10, 15 years ago when I was trying to get a little rock band together, and you were the drummer in there. And that's how we really started to hang out a lot. So
yeah, man.
And back then you were, you still are a very good drummer, very, very funky, jazzy. And back then you weren't doing anything with your paintings or your... Like, how old were you then? I think you were like 16 or 17.
Yeah, 15, 16.
And back then I was 19, 20. So you were still figuring out what you wanted to do with your creativity back then. And eventually you started painting. How did that start?
The painting?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. At some point I was playing the drums just by myself. I had like one of these... first electric drum kits, was playing on it. And at some point I got kind of crazy, because when you are going a bit too deep inside of it, you start to then there is something happening more than just unwinding yourself. So then I met this guy, Hans Kleinjan. He's a dentist actually, but at nighttime he's an artist. He makes a lot of paintings since the 70s already. And I ended up in his atelier. And at some point, I asked him. He told me that later because I couldn't remember, but he told me that I asked him, "Can you teach me this stuff?" You know. And in 6 months, I was hanging out there a lot. And in 6 months, he told me that I was actually teaching him stuff as well. So it was like a mutual thing. That's why our relationship kept on floating on. And ever since, I've been painting, you know.
How long was this ago?
This was 2008. I was 18.
Huh. Okay. Cool. Yeah. And I remember you also went to school, but that stopped pretty quickly, you know.
Yeah, it stopped actually exactly at that moment, 2008.
Yeah. Yeah, you had some cool high school stories too, man. You were always you were kind of a rock star in high school too, for all the reasons you would expect. And it was
yeah. What can we say about it, you know?
Yeah. So you started painting, and the atelier it grew, and now the place now has like 2 buildings next to each other, and you just broke a hole through the wall, so you can literally walk from the one place to the other through the wall now, and it has a pretty big presence in the city at the moment. It's kind of a thing, you know. That all happened in 10 years.
Well, it's like the city Rotterdam is developing itself with a crazy, like on the fast lane, you know. And right at the moment where like the whole economy broke down, Rotterdam started to grow fast, and that's happening now for 10 years, and especially in the neighborhood we are in the north of Rotterdam. And we came there right at the right spot, at the perfect timing, you know. So we built up a kind of temple. It's like it's also the living room of the city.
Right.
At some point, it became a bit too living room of the city wise. So we had to
remember.
We had to call a guy who stayed at the door, so just the right people came in, you know, because we had to work there as well. I mean, party is one thing, but you have to continue thinking about about what to actually tell to the world instead of just wasting your time,
right?
You know?
Yeah, I remember that there were always a lot of people there, and every time I came, there were different people there, and I'm pretty sure everyone kind of probably knew each other through someone else, but it was just some wild characters down there, man.
Yeah, man. Fucking Marvel comics. Like at some point, when you take a look around in what people's circumstances doesn't even relate, but if you take a look around, you see like people like to hang out with the people they are a bit the same, like where they have the same thoughts, they look the same. That's what you see a lot, but instead of it's like completely the other way around. All these faces you see are my best friends are totally different from each other, you know.
Right.
One of them is a crazy surfer. The other one is a big DJ. He was also always the DJ in our studio, so we never had to worry about the music.
Yeah, you got what's the record you had turned on just now? Tommy Guerrero, Soul Food Takira.
Yeah, man.
That's some awesome music too. Like every time I walk in, I discover something new. Yeah, it's cool. But that's the thing too. Yeah, there's guys there who who look like they sleep on the street, and at the same time, there's millionaires walking around the place.
Yeah, it's like what makes the place. I mean, a place is just a place. It's what it's like. The people always who walk inside of a place that make a place. You know.
Right.
And since that year 2008, like something like that, I also met Hans's cousin called Michael Kleinjan. So they're like cousins from each other. And
I think I mixed up the word cousin or nephew earlier, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, fuck that. But we started to paint together at some point because, I mean, at some point, painting it's a kind of solo thing, you know. Like you just translate your thoughts into your brush, and it's just your hands that you're looking at. I always try to not think, like just not think while you're painting, because then you have like this child inside of you. I mean, then it doesn't come from your brain, but from a thing that people call your heart. Your heart is just a muscle, you know. It's like from your spirit. It's
right. Interesting that you put it that way.
It's like an intuition.
Right. Yeah.
After an intuition, and it keeps on floating.
Right. Yeah. It's funny that you said that you compare it to like the child inside, because I was talking to Marnix earlier about photography and his cooking and all that, and he described it in the exact same way. Just let your child brain come up with what you're doing, pretty much.
Yeah, man. Like then there are no taboos existing yet. You don't know what to. You like when you totally block everything you know, then you get this pure inside of you who's right. The boss about what's happening, you know.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I remember when I walked into the studio when you were at that moment working on something, you were painting, and I kind of tried to say hi to you, but you were just painting and like you were hypnotized or possessed or something. I couldn't get through to you while you were doing that too. Like you were just completely closed off to everything around you, and you were just like painting, and that I remember that always kind of stuck me, that you were definitely in a different place while you're doing it.
Yeah, man. Like it's at nights like that, you're just a part of your surrounding. Everything that you see is a choice. That's a thing of like we humans are smart enough to actually being able to just surround ourselves with the things you like. So that's like your composition. Everybody, like as a person, you choose the way you look at, just to make sure that composition of you is perfect. You know, that's why sometimes you take a left or you take a right. But during painting, the most important thing is to like imagine all the lovely things we're surrounded with, you know. So when people ask me the question, what's the stuff that inspires you, then the answer is always really easy, you know. For me, inspiration is in the air. I mean, there's some things I like in particular, like the three most lovely things I can imagine are trees, women, and birds. You know, trees, women, and birds. If you that are like the gifts, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And your paintings, they're extremely colorful. There's a lot of bright colors, a lot of interesting contrast, but it's mostly, all your work is just super colorful. I noticed. Is that something, like, where does that come from? Is that just comes out of your mind? Like, you didn't. You didn't try to...
Color is just... it would be actually nice to... It's like when I'm about 50 years old, that I would just see black and white. I would like that, you know. At some point, you've seen enough colors. I'm already starting to get a bit colorblind. But because when you just see black and white, with colors, it's not just about the color itself. It's about how dark or how bright a color is.
Right.
So it's like mixing colors. Yeah, man. Colors are crazy, right?
Right.
All these different colors we can see, and you're never sure that somebody else sees the same colors because
that's true. Yeah, I don't know what blue looks like to you. You know.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I just like a lot of colors.
Right.
Especially the ones who you also sometimes see in dirt, you know, in rocks when you break them.
Like earthy colors.
Yeah, earthy colors.
Yeah. There's a lot of that
If you
too.
make like a complete earthy piece.
Funny that you say that because I'm looking at the painting now, and after you said that, I just now actually noticed that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And then it's cool when you finish a piece like with colors like that, and you drop some crazy pink on it, like
right.
something that definitely is not from down earth, but comes from the sky, you know, like colors you only see in the universe when you zoom in enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's cool. While I'm talking to you, I'm looking at one of your paintings, and it's it's cool stuff, man. I also noticed that it's a very how to describe it? How do you call the style? Like it's kind of like a rough line. If you need to take a couple of steps back to see what's going on.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
About what the style is called because I mean, some people
it's pretty
have said when they came into our gallery, they said, yeah, it does remind me a bit of kind of when some of these guys like Picasso or Kandinsky would still be alive and they will meet up. It's like it's expressionism and with a slightly bit of impressionism, but it's still figurative sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So we chose to. I mean, it's not a choice you make, but it just happened to be being called maniakism. You know, the word mania means like if you just look up the word mania, which is old Latin word for waanzin, you know, waanzin.
Waanzin, that's a very good Dutch word. I guess if you translate like waanzin, that means...
Waanzin means mania.
Okay, yeah.
It's like a mania, which everybody has inside of him.
Right. Yeah, it's a maniac, yeah.
No, it's not the maniac, it's the mania.
Oh, the mania,
which also makes the maniac, but the word maniac is a bit...
It's different,
like through the years, like in 1700, a maniac meant something completely different at what it is right now, you know?
Right, yeah. No, I think I know where you're going.
But it's like the thing in that human... as a human being, you should be busy with the stuff you like to do instead of just walking, like acting like the people around you act. Instead of that, you have to really conspire what you think it's worth it to live. You know,
right? Well, and you know, doing your own thing. That's the ultimate embodiment of that, man. I don't know anyone who gives less of a fuck than you.
Yeah, man, I really don't give a fuck. I see this blue sky coming like above me every day. It's sometimes a fucking lovely shine of the sun and all these trees popping out in the summer.
What is it? What is it about trees that you like so much?
Yeah, man. If you look at the world, trees are popping out like in a 45 degrees. It's crazy, man. If you just imagine the world we live in keeps on turning around. Lately, I'm really thinking about that. I think that's also dropping his things in the stuff I do.
Right, you're not a flat earther.
No, man, I just love life. Can say that, man.
Oh yeah, and you're living it with a vengeance.
Yeah, some rough days are already behind me also because.
Right.
I mean, that's some hardcore things, but which also...
Do you want to get into that? Or,
Yeah, I lost some really dear friends. And I have the feeling that everything I do also do for him. They continue their lives inside of me, you know? So that's what makes me extra hungry to go to the studio and... drop off, you know.
Right.
Like I try to continuously unwind.
You're right. Yeah, I think it definitely affected your work for sure. Your paintings started to look differently after all that happened. Yeah. Do you want to get deeper into that, or do you want to move on?
No, man. Everything I say, I also say by them, you know. So we can we can move forward.
Okay. So you want to move on to the next topic, or do you want to like talk about what happened, or?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not a hard thing to talk about because it's already in the frontal. It's like in my sight. Always, you know, at the time.
You wanna tell me what happened?
Yeah, it was a friend of mine. Like the last 5 years, 2 friends of mine died. They were really good friends of me, and also they knew each other the best, you know. So yeah, man. Just they came to the studio a lot. I rocked like a million of. We closed bars actually together, you know.
Right.
Many of them.
That sounds like a good story. Can you give me an example of that?
Yeah, he used to have the bootleg DJ cafe.
Yeah, very shady like hole in the wall.
It's a place where a lot of big DJs nowadays come from, like had their first DJ gigs, you know. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's where the club kept on going till 11 in the morning. So imagine I closed that bar there like at least 200 times with with the guys, you know. So what else to say, man?
Yeah.
How you can just go as deep as you can, man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, those were some wild times, I'm sure. You also you have so many funny stories too, man. Can you? I remember one story you told me. You were in a grocery store, and you got yourself arrested there. What were you doing?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a kleptoman. Like, I think that's.
Like a compulsive thief.
I think that's a thing you're born with, you know, or you're not. But not from purses, but just from a really big companies, you know.
But yeah, I remember you telling you were walking to the to the part where they sell bread. And you just like grabbed a piece of bread there, walked over to the lunch meat section, and got some lunch meat and just started making a sandwich in the grocery store and eating it.
Yeah, but I was crazy hungry at the moment, man. I was painting for 25 hours straight, so I just walked out to the closest grocery store, started to build up my sandwich. I even had like a fresh juice with it, and then I just threw it into like these can they had because they were cleaning the place, So I just dropped it in. And then I came outside and the security guy grabbed me. He said, "Yeah, you know why I'm taking you with me to the cameras, right?" I said, "Yeah, man, I'm fucking hungry. What can you expect of me?" But I had like these €100 in my pocket. Like you always have to make sure you have like 100. We call a meijer here in your back pocket when you do stuff like that, because then what are they going to say? Yeah, my girl was with me even. I just picked her up after that studio session, and we went to the store. I started to eat, So she drove my car after the police car to the station. And then while we were while I was sitting in the jail, after half an hour, maybe an hour, the guy was coming, like the sergeant,
like the big police guy.
Yeah, the guy with the crown on his shoulder, instead of just a stripe. Yeah. And he said, yeah. So why did you do that, man? I said, yeah, I was hungry, man. I said, sometimes a man's got to do what a man's got to do. So I heard he's slang, like his voice. He was crazy Rotterdam slang, So I heard he was like a born guy from here. So I started to say this Dutch poem about, like one of my poems about Rotterdam, which has like 16 bars, 16 sentences. And after that, like I will do it. Rotterdam, verlaten gebakend. De stad met de harten in meerdere stadie. Aan sinds het later het leven in nu. Die haven die slaapt niet, en zeker niet nu. Stad van de cultshit, de liefde voor kleuren. Verlaat het later om reeds door te smeuren. Met smeerlijke verzen, het verst in het water. De brug die schijnt verder, nog later dan laat maar. Het westen dat glimt wat, de binnenweg glamour. Het nieuws trekt steeds verder door centrum en boardwalk. De bommen die klonken, maar nu klinkt de jazz nog. Door Dilder en Derry, verstaan Dis Gillespie. Verbaal mist het stempel, de tempel van tijd. Maar gebouwd wordt er toch wel, er zijn zeeën van tijd. En nou maak dat je wegkomt, verlaat het pand. Pleur ik je in mazen, de haven, je brandt. Which means like the harbor it burns, Right. That's what happened.
And so I thought. By the way, and for all the listeners, that's what a Dutch Rotterdam accent sounds like. And you got more than 100 of these poems, and you can all just recite them from the top of your head, like right away.
Yeah, I think it's like 250 or something. Right?
Yeah, and it's like every single one of them, like it's just in your head. Boom, you can just like yeah. That's you got an interesting mind, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I always try to make it a bit less photographic by smoking a lot,
right,
and drinking a lot. But I'm doing my best.
But so after you recited that poem to the police chief, what happened then?
He looked at me and he was like, "Man," like he was silent for like 20 seconds, and he looked at me. He kind of hugged me, because it actually made him kind of a bit emotional. So he told me, okay, here's your... do you want to go now, or do you want to first have like a glass of milk and a decent sandwich? So he gave me, because I was still hungry, you know. So he gave me the glass. I said, "Yeah, I can stay another 5 minutes." So he let like this other woman bring me the food, and then after 10 minutes he came in and he said, "Man, fucking live, man." So the day after I ordered like this crazy big pie and let it send to him with just the logo that he has on his shoulder in the middle of it, you know, so he knew it was for him.
Oh, so you had a pie delivered with his rank on it.
Yeah.
That's cool, dude. That's such an awesome story. Like you get arrested for trying to make a sandwich in the supermarket. You go to jail, you become friends with the police, and the police buys a sandwich for you.
Yeah, man, but that's when you actually are the most honest person you can be. Like when there's no thing called lies in the story, and you're one-on-one talking, like two guys talking, or from the same place. You just look at each other and say, "Yeah, fuck this shit, man. Let's continue." Like, let the history be the history. You know? Like once I walked out of the studio, I think I never was that high on life before. You know, it was like I think a 48-hour session. Finished like 5 paintings in that weekend. You know.
Mm.
And I walked out on my Boeg Maxi, like this old scooter from the 50s. Just 2 blocks further, I got stopped because I was driving through a red light. So I see this police agent on a motorcycle on the trottoir next to me.
Sidewalk, yeah.
On the sidewalk. So he said, "Yeah, you can stop." So I stopped it, turned my engine off, and he said, "So, yeah, you know why I'm stopping you, right?" I said, "Yeah, you were driving through a red light, like taking a left. Why did you do that?" I said, "Yeah, sometimes as a human being, you make a choice for the for the fast way, you know, you take the fast lane."
Right.
Soms kiest de man voor de snelle weg. So he said, "Okay, but wait a minute, is that alcohol that I smell?" So I said, "No, I just jumped off of my wife. It must be the estrogen. How do you say that? The
estrogen.
I said I must be the estrogen smell that came off of her that you smell, man." He said, "No, but wait a minute. What you can make like a laugh about it, but I'm serious, man. I can also make you blow this thing to check it." So I told the guy, "Also that blowing thing, that's more a thing I keep up to my wife, you know." So then I had him like 2 times talking in a second, you know. So he started to laugh. He said, "Fuck, man, you rock and roll piece of streets." Like I had no t-shirt on, just this leather jacket filled with paint, and the sunglasses on my my chunky hair. So he said, "Yeah, and if you want to get cigarettes, you have to go there because that supermarket is closed at the moment, man. You have to take the other round. See you later, man."
So again, like you were stopped for running a red light, and you were obviously drunk and probably more, and you know, cop stops you, and he ends up telling you where to go. It's such a weird thing. Like you sort of get away with everything, man. And it's yeah, I don't know. For some reason, the universe just kind of serves you.
But then you have to reconsider, man. You serve yourself. Like you say what you want, and you want what you say. You know.
Okay. And I remember another story. You were in London, and you were painting there, and there was something with a construction site. That's also one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, man. Wait, I get a cigarette for this. 1 sec.
Okay. I gotta tell you, man, this house is just... It's exactly what you would think it would look like if you're listening to this. All right. So you were in London for like a party or another painting session or something?
No, we brought some pictures actually
Okay.
to this diamond dealer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there were like these guys we met at the MTV Awards last year, 2016.
That's 2 years ago, man.
Oh. Yeah, time takes its spin sometimes, you know. But yeah, at the MTV Awards, we had 18 pieces hanging at the backstage area. So there were like these Victoria's Secret angels walking in all the time, and bands like Green Day and Jaden Smith was there. We made a painting together with the son of Will Smith.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
I follow... Do you ever see his Twitter? It's hilarious.
No, man.
He
I don't
has...
see Twitter.
No, he has all these random thoughts which are just... I don't know. Like he thinks it's really, really deep, but it's just the dumbest shit ever. And that makes it so great, you know? It's... I can't come up with an example. Like he says something... trying to come up with something now. Like if you go to a bookstore, if there's a lot of the books, does it mean everyone reads them or no one reads them? Or... And also just random shit like water isn't real or something. Yes. Yeah, you'd get a kick out of it too, man.
Yeah.
It's funny as shit. I bet like in real life, what's that kid like? He's whacked out, man. Like I don't know what the fuck's going on.
He's not whacked out. He's really interesting.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's interesting. Yeah,
he's an interesting spirit, man. But what I was saying, so
yeah, sorry, it's a little sidebar there. You were backstage with Victoria's Secret models and like
we had those
and
painting, and we met this guy who had like a small fragrances bar. Like he had some new brands that he was bringing to the world, you know,
like perfume and stuff. Like that.
Men and women perfumes and all the stuff. Oh, wait a second, we have to open the gate, man.
All right, one of your roommates.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, cool. I've hung out with this guy for 15 years at this point, and he never ceases to surprise me. It doesn't matter what we do, where we go, or if you just walk into each other, you just never know what's gonna happen. He's something else. All right. So we were talking about London. You were there at this big party with all these Victoria's Secret models and people.
Yeah, there was actually in Rotterdam at the MTV Awards.
Okay, but what's
that's where we met this guy who has this fragrance place.
Okay, yeah.
Like he was selling those
now I see the link.
Men and women perfume. And we had a good talk with him because all these, like the most beautiful women in the place were hugging him like crazy. So we thought that's the guy we have to get in contact with, you know. So he ended up being this crazy guy with 85 companies, and he just invents them and then he gives them to to somebody else, but he's still kind of in charge, you know.
Okay.
And he fixed that. We had a couple of paintings brought to London, so we went to London with a couple of paintings in the trunk of our car, because we're small. We had to bring small paintings because they were going to hang in like this jewelry. It was a kind of diamond dealer. So this guy who owns the diamond store looks a bit like like David Bowie, but then he's like David Bowie, but then he could have been like his transsexual brother, you know.
Okay. That's an interesting description.
But when we went there, we took like at our arrival in the evening before we had this meeting, we noticed that the bars were only open till 11 in London, because this kind of safety rule.
Yeah, they have weird laws
English
there.
people are so crazy.
Yeah.
That
They
if you
can't drink.
keep on the pub open after 11 in the evening, they will start throwing with shit, you know. Like, but not just at one place, but everywhere. So
The bars in London, they close before midnight. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a kind of act of self-knowledge. But when we saw that, we luckily had some LSD with us, so we, like my companion Mikey and me, we shared this LSD, and we went straight to a casino. So we started to blackjack, and this guy who was looking of this actor of Fight Club, you know, that scene, the croupier, you know, he was throwing these cards. And
Okay, what did he look like?
What's his name, man? I cannot.
Tyler Durden?
Yeah.
Like the main guy,
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's character.
No, it's the other one.
Oh, the other guy. Yeah.
So, yeah, man, this guy was throwing these cards, and we jumped out of the casino because the pockets were filled. It was crazy, man. Everything, like every pot we played, we got money. So,
You just won all the time.
yeah, we won all the time, and I had like a amount of coins in my pocket. So I said, Mikey, man, let's get another chapter into this one, you know.
Oh, shit.
So we walked out.
So that's kind of like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the scene where he's in the casino and everything starts. That's you.
Yeah, man. Like, we were straightly on top of Fear and Loathing, man. So we were walking to this old Bond through this old Bond Street.
You walked out with a bunch of money on you.
Yeah, and we saw these fucking Gucci stores next to it. There was like this Gucci store.
This was in the middle of the night.
No, it was already getting morning, you know.
Okay.
And we see this guy like cleaning the outside of the building, but also like vacuum cleaning the streets in front of it. And there was a woman laying there on a kind of wool. How do you say the wool plate?
Right, like a blanket.
Yeah, she was laying on a wool blanket, and underneath like tiny little kind of jumper. I don't know what it was. She was ice cold, you know, like almost dying. And this guy was, and this guy was like vacuum cleaning around her because she was laying in front of the store, and we saw that from that point of view.
That's
the crazy perspective you have when you take acid. You're so aware of existence, you know.
Right.
So the moment we saw that, man, we were walking up there, and we thought of a kind of cool thing to do, which is like put a lot of these blankets across the city with just small claws, but then real human claws, but of dead people, you know. So you just see the bones, and you just hang them a bit outside of the blanket. So it's like there's laying a dead person, and then I'm for sure they will still vacuum clean the stuff around it, you know. That contrast you see,
Right.
at that point of view, man, that's crazy.
So that
There was like
those thoughts went through your head while you were looking at that.
was not normal. Everybody, because working, they started for like the 9 to 5, maybe there even 7 to 5 already started. So you see all these zombies walking a bit faster than a normal promenade, you know.
Right.
And we were like cruising through that shit, you know.
Uh-huh.
So there were these working guys who were building an entire, like rebuilding an entire street at the water side there. So at a small river, and they all were wearing helmets and doing this, like lifting these pieces of rock with the 15 guys at the same time. So we started to helping them, you know. We started helping them lifting that shit, and we also got a helmet.
So you just walked on there.
Yeah, man. At some point, we were building a road, man. Like moving dirt to actually build an extra road where people can walk on.
That's. And you also had, and then so the road was done, and then what happened?
Yeah, the road was done, so we went back to this, this kind of strip club story after it, and then we went back to the place, and then Bart came along, a friend of ours. He just had his world tour. So he came back straight from...
what does he do?
Yeah, he came back straight from, I think, Hawaii. Still wearing his... like it was quite cold in London at those days, you know.
Right.
And he was coming in with these palm tree trousers. He was fully palm tree. And he had like this lovely hotel room. So we went there, played some music. We had some.
He's a DJ.
Yeah, he's a DJ.
Okay, what's his name?
Yeah, his name is Lemeus.
Lemeus.
Yeah, the guy is called Bart van Beurden. But yeah, he's playing here, actually at the place where we are right now. Maybe 50 hours a week, you know.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, he had some studio time.
But okay, so you walked into him in London.
Yeah, man. But and the day after, we were still awake, and we had to show up at that place when we dropped off those 3 paintings. There was like a small party over there, and there were people from L'Oreal and from what's that brand called? The guy who died, you know, the Yves Saint Laurent, you know.
Okay.
There were some big brands there, so. Yeah, I mean, London was one of the first trips we had since we were like becoming, spreading the pieces around the globe, you know. That's actually what's happening right now. There's a painting in Jakarta, there's one in New York, there's a couple in London. In Paris are some pieces. Like in the beginning, we were just painting, and then some people started to buy some pictures, and whenever somebody asked how we were doing, we were always saying, "Yeah, we're doing perfect," you know. So people starting to wonder what's happening there in that fucking place in Delfshaven.
Yeah.
Delfshaven is a bit more older piece. It's like really old, one of the oldest places of the Netherlands. We had like a really romantic atelier there, where that's the place where I met Hans and Michael, and a lot of more people, lovely people. But yeah, from there it actually grew to becoming something that's inevitable for the rest of the world to see, man. So we are on a mission. I can say that.
Well, I can see for sure. Like it's the word is spreading for sure. Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah, so that was a good story from London. You had another cool story from New York too.
Yeah, the story of New Yorkie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's another great story, man.
After my first exhibition in Rotterdam, I had 18 pieces hanging there. Some of them I made together with Mike and Hans, but a lot of them I made by myself, and we ended up selling all those pieces, you know. So it was also the first time my dad actually looked me into, like, we were standing towards each other, and he said, "Hell yeah, man," because he always thought I got this money from from the streets, you know. You know what I'm saying? So a couple of days after I left to New York just by myself, I was 19, and I was sitting in the metro, like, not wearing anything of value in my pockets, you know. I didn't have a phone with me. I had this small hostel in Harlem on 120th Street between First and Pleasant Avenue. And left my stuff there, you know. I just had for a couple of $1,000 in my pocket. I mean, in my sock, between my shoe and my sock. And I didn't have anything of value with me, so I was completely free, because even when I fall asleep, I could do everything I want without anybody harming me, you know.
Right. Yeah, and your shoes probably aren't getting stolen.
No, they're not gonna.
Small chance, yeah.
Yeah, man. So, I was walking there
through Harlem.
Through Harlem, like 2 blocks further, I could jump in the metro, but sometimes I just walked. Once at night, I came back from. I met some guys there. A couple of days before that story, I met some guys. They were walking the dog in Williamsburg. It was like the upper street of Manhattan, Lower East Side, but the upper piece of it. So I asked the guy. That's
a really rich neighborhood, right?
Yeah, I asked the guy, where can I see some galleries, you know? And he was. I said, I have some stuff I want to show. So he said, yeah, you come with me. I don't have a clue, but some friend of mine, you can come with me to my place. So I walked with him, and we went up in the house, and there were sitting 4 guys. Looked like exactly like the crew I had in my own hood, you know, like in Rotterdam. It was like a mountain filled with ganja on the table, and just guys chilling around a bit. We had some good drinks, and it became that late that like some of those guys were actually into art, so they told me the place to go. Then everybody fell asleep. When I woke up, I saw this message of these guys, like, we're all off to work. If you can walk the dog, just the keys are here. So that entire day I was walking with like 3 dogs through Manhattan, you know, like I fucking owned the streets there. You know, those dogs knew where to go, so they kind of showed me around, you know. Yeah, man.
So you just walked into someone, started talking, and the next day you crashed at their place, and the next day just give the key to their apartment.
Yeah, man.
It's yeah.
Yeah, and there were some MacBooks laying there, and so I could have steal the shit out of them, walk there with a ton of money. Why should I, man? Those guys came back. We went to this crazy drum and bass party in Webster Hall. And I think at 4 a.m., I lost the guys inside of the club. So I looked for them 5 minutes, but then I thought, fuck it, man, just leave. So I didn't have any of their contact, no phone numbers, nothing. I vanished for them, like, yeah. Yeah, man. Then it's like, then you're actually wondering if it actually happened,
Right.
Just walked out of the club into a pub, ordered a fucking can of beer, and drank 3 pints out of it, Started to talk a bit with that guy, and then I went to back to Harlem, and there were these 2 black guys walking towards me on the streets. So one of them was, I had the wrong hip-hop listening in my headphones, I had like these earplugs in with music. Mm-hmm. But they heard it was from the wrong place, from the wrong corner of the States.
It was like West
what
Coast.
What the fuck? So I just grabbed this joint out of my front pocket of my jacket. And I said, guys, and this might be your hood, but this is my spliff. I don't know if you want to smoke it or not. But so we jumped on the basketball court, smoked J together. And then they asked me if I wanted to come with them to the strip clubs. They had this old, I think it was an Oldsmobile Cutlass, like Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, something like that. Like they can only fit 2 persons normally, but I was laying in the back with an L.
in the trunk, like
no, like behind
the back seat. Yeah, okay.
Like on the back seat, really small back seat.
Right.
So the entire car was filled with smoke. We drove up to the Bronx where the strip club was. So we walked inside. There were only black people there, asses as big as you can imagine the moon is, And then we ordered a bottle of Hennessy. I mean, one of these guys said, "Yeah, you like Hennessy?" I said, "Yeah, sure, man." So he put on this cooler on the table with the neon stripes around it. And I couldn't imagine why you should put the fucking neon around it, But then, like the moment that happened, all these strippers were walking to our table because we had the neon, We had the extra lights. So within 15 minutes, I had this ass in my face. Like, there were how do you say, kroonluchters,
Oh, chandeliers.
Yeah, they had chandeliers hanging on 2.50 meters in the entire place, so you could not see the roof,
Right.
You could not see the ceiling. It was only chandeliers.
Very bling.
Yeah, it was so bling, man. You had this smoking alley inside of there. We went up there for a cigarette, but the alley became a bit tighter. We were walking more inside of it, if you were walking further. And in the back of the alley, there was this guy, like this black guy, with these crazy dreadlocks. And in one of them, he had like a miniature Uzi. and in the other one, he had like this small condom. And this guy was, you want a small hit of this? He was acting like that. And he said, "Yeah, man, take this." And then he was smoking this small pipe, So I thought, fuck, man. Normal. So I smoked a couple of cigarettes with this guy.
Of course you did.
It was a fucking movie star. But like being there an hour and a half, all these guys inside were looking at me. They were starting to notice me, you know. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and I came back with that smoking alley. Jumped back on the couch with those guys, but they were like also rapping to each other. It was a crazy ambiance, you know.
Right.
I even
They were like battle raps.
yeah, there were some battle raps, but also some argues. But when there were a bit too many argues around me in the club, like there was a bit of fighting.
Right.
So I told the guys.
The vibe was changing.
Yeah, I told one of the guys, hey, I'm going back for one smoke, you know. So he said, yeah. And then, like, I crossed the smoking area, like the smoking alley, went straight to the exit, just walked away there, you know, jumped into the first cab, because that neighborhood, man.
Right.
I just went back to I said, yeah, we can just drive. And I heard from one of those guys that you had this place, wasn't the Jupiter, no, Apollo 95 or something. So I went to that. I said, yeah, drive to Apollo 95, which is like a kind of bowling center. But if you go through it, on the next floor, you have like this crazy club, you know, just hip hop. So I went there, man. Actually, a couple of those guys who were in the strip club, I later on met in that place, because one of those guys, I told him that I was leaving, you know, but I didn't want to interrupt everything. So I went there and I met up with him later. And it's cool to go to a city you don't know, and like spend your time with the guys who live the life there, you know, right. Instead of visitors. Like I want to jump into their life.
Yeah,
just to make sure. We can level, you know.
Mm-hmm. And so you went to the hip hop club. What was that scene like?
Yeah, I was doing some writing in those days, so also some English stuff, but mostly they were also interesting in the Dutch stuff, because in rap and in poetry, sometimes it's not just about the things you're saying, but also the rhythm and the melody that you bring on with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually cool that sometimes it's cool that the guy you're talking to, when you're talking into your own language, when he doesn't understand shit if you're saying, he just hears like the tone of it, and then sometimes you can already get a cool glimpse of what somebody's saying, right?
Yeah, so, well, I think you said it all for today, man. It was a very interesting conversation. I've had a lot of laughs, and
look,
we should do this again soon.
So a couple of weeks ago, I have this neighbor, this woman, and her husband died, you know. So I saw her walking across the street, and I walked up to her and said, yeah, so it's now 2 weeks ago that your husband died. I mean, might be a good idea to jump on top of you, right? And then she looked at me with this face and she said, don't let my husband hear it. He would roll around in his grave. So I answered her. I said, yeah, then we can do it 2 times. And he lies exactly like he did before.
Oh, man. And on that note, I think we're gonna end this episode. Where can people find you? Find your stuff? Like you're on Instagram and Facebook and all that, right? Like what's your how do people find you there?
Yeah, Roderik Faasen. We put in a.
Yeah, just Google it and you'll find it. Roderik Faasen. And yeah. Well, that's it. That's it.
Triple A.
Triple A Fresh Gallery.
Yeah, man. If you just check Triple A Gallery in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Triple A Fresh 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll put all the links in the show notes and all that. Thanks for coming on, man. I'm looking forward to do it again and talk to the other guys too. Right. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Tot ziens.
Bye, night.
And just so you know where you can find this guy on the internet, it's Roderik Faasen. That's his name, RODERIKFAASAN. Those are all his handles on Instagram and Facebook, and you can also find him at roderikfaasen.com.
You've been listening to the Polarizer podcast. Check the show notes for links and details on literally everything that was discussed and mentioned during the show. Subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes or your other favorite podcast directory to never miss an episode. And be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review. Visit thepolarizer.com for high-quality articles on making life an adventure, traveling the world, being the best you can be, and other topics that fuel the fire in your soul. That's thepolarizer.com. One word, including the. Thank you for listening, and thanks for telling a friend. It really makes all the difference.